Welcome to Axe Talk, a podcast by Axe Capital, one of Dubai's leading real estate agencies. We provide you with short episodes to give you valuable tips on navigating Dubai's real estate market. I am Aram Grigorian, real estate expert, and today is the fourth episode of our second season, the next step in buying property in Dubai, closing the deal. If viewings are the moment when you feel this is for me or this is not for me, then closing the deal is the moment when you understand, is this done properly or this is done carelessly? And yes, it can sound intimidating, not because it's impossible, but because suddenly your deal is filled with terms. Down payment, reservation, contract, okud, NOC, DLT, trustee, SPA. And for some people, inner alarm goes off. Wait, what if I'm missing something? I understand that feeling, and that's exactly why today I'll give you a structure. What the deal is actually made of, which documents and payments are involved, what to double check, and which questions to ask. So you move through this step calmly, without panic, and with no surprises. First, a quick reminder of how this season is structured. We have 6 steps that we are going to go through in season 2, and we have done 3 so far. Step 1, the first meeting. Step 2, selecting the right property. Step 3, property viewings. Today, we have step 4, closing the deal. Also, we'll have step 5, which is construction completion and or handover. And step 6, moving in or renting the property out. So, closing the deal. And here's one important thing. In Dubai, there are 2 big scenarios. The first is buying on the secondary market, a resale property. I don't know why I called it the first scenario, but let's just go with it. And the second is buying from a developer, most commonly an off-plan unit under an SPA, which is a sell and purchase agreement. The overall logic is similar, but the details are different. So today I'll explain it in a way that makes both options clear. So where the deal really starts. It starts with agreeing the terms. Before you sign anything, you should have the basics fully agreed. What are they? The price, what's included in the price, let's say furniture, appliances, parking, storage, then payment timing and terms, then handover date and access terms if the unit is ready. Also, who pays which fees, DLD, trustee, NOC, agency commission, and so on. And if there are any special conditions. For example, there are tenants inside the unit, or there is a delayed move out date that is needed, and so on. These can look like small details, but in reality, a clean deal is built from exactly these small details. Secondly, reservation and deposit. What it means. Next comes the part many people treat like a point of no return. In reality, it's simply the step that secures intent. On the secondary market, you typically provide deposit amount, often around 10%, in the form of a security check, and you sign the deal form, which is called Form F or MOU, Memorandum of Understanding. On the primary market, you reserve the unit with the developer and pay the booking amount, after which the SPA is prepared. One very important point here is that you should always clarify the deposit terms. When it's refundable, when it's not, what happens if either side cancels. A deposit is not money just to hold, it's part of the legal structure of the deal. Documents. What you sign and why it matters. On the secondary market, the key document is MOU or Form F. It sets out the price, the parties, deadlines, penalties, handover conditions, responsibility for delays, and any additional agreements. On the primary market, the key document is the SPA, the Sales and Purchase Agreement. It sets out the payment plan, construction timeline, handover conditions, finishing specifications, delay clauses, and your rights if something doesn't go as planned, as well as the rights of the developer. My advice is very simple here. Don't sign anything in a rush, especially not in an emotional, I don't want to lose this deal kind of moment. This is exactly the stage where it's better to move a bit slower, but be precise. Pre-deal checks, small steps that save big stress. On the secondary market, check if the seller is the rightful owner and the unit has no restrictions, whether there is a mortgage and how it will be cleared, whether the unit is tenanted and under what terms, whether there are any overdue service charges, and whether all unit documents are ready for transfer. On the primary market, you should clarify the project status and approvals, escrow counts, OCUD terms, that's the land department registration for off-plan, what's included in the price in reality, not just promised in words, resale rules before handover, especially if you're an investor. Some of the developers would allow you to resell after you've completed 20%, and some of them would allow you to do that only when you've completed 40% of the price. All of this can be checked and actually should be checked by the agent you work with. And honestly, most deal problems don't happen because of bad people. They happen because something wasn't clarified early enough. Fees and costs. Here you should have no surprises. Closing a deal in Dubai is not only the property price. There are additional payments and they should be clear upfront. Usually, this would include land department fee, which is often 4% of the price, plus an administrative fee, depending on the transaction. This would apply to both secondary and primary market transactions. Also, sometimes there is translation, power of attorney, courier, bank charges. This would also apply to both primary and secondary. And for secondary specifically, there would be trustee fees on resale, there would be NOC fee, there would be agency commission, and there could be service charge adjustments if there's an outstanding amount or a recalculation, like a pro rata recalculation. Important thing here is that a good agent will always prepare a cost map in advance, so you know the total amount down to the dirham, not just approximately around and so on. Payments. How not to make mistakes in the moment. Dubai is structured, but you still need attention at this step. On resale, payments are commonly handled through manager's checks, and the transfer is processed through trustee office. On primary, payments go directly to the developer according to the schedule. My advice is always confirm payment details officially, verify company names, and never transfer money to personal accounts. It sounds basic, but it's very important. Deal day. What happens step by step? On the secondary market, it usually goes like this. The parties meet or act through power of attorney. Final documents and checks are ready. Paperwork is signed at the trustee office. Ownership is transferred and a new title deed is issued. Then handover of keys, access parking cards, and sometimes you would need to sign up for a connection for water, electricity, etc. On the primary market, the process usually looks like this. You pay a booking deposit, a booking amount. You sign a reservation form. It could be called an offer to purchase, a booking form, or something like that. And then you pay the remaining amount of the initial down payment, after which the developer will issue an SPA that you will sign. And then they would register what we call OCUD, which is, let me call it an off-plan title, not going to go into the legal details of it. And then you make payments according to the schedule. Then step 5 begins, construction, waiting, and handover, which we will cover in the next episode. Buyer calmness. 2 questions that you should ask yourself. I always suggest clients ask themselves 2 questions. First, do I understand what am I signing? Second, do I understand what I'm paying for and who I'm paying? If you have doubts about either, it's not a reason to panic. It's a reason to pause and clarify. That's exactly why your agent and the professionals around the deal exist. In the end, closing the deal is not an exam you must pass perfectly. It's a process you can break into steps and go through calmly. The key is don't be shy to ask questions and don't rush where precision matters. In the next episode, we will move to step 5, construction completion and or handover. And there we'll talk about what handover really means in Dubai, what checks to do, and how to approach that stage without rose-colored glasses and without unnecessary stress. If you have any questions, I know I've used a lot of real estate terminology today, or need a consultation, I will be happy to help. You can find my contact details in the description of this podcast. If you want us to cover a specific topic, send us a message and we will do that for you. Contact Axe Capital. We will be very happy to assist you with any property requests, even if they seem overwhelmingly complicated to you. Leave it to us. That is our specialty. Take care.